There is a community similar to Sterling that was struggling with their crops and different things, and it was beginning to dry up. And this was a farming community, very similar. And as things began to dry up, they began to get very scared and nervous, and a couple of the farms had to close up, and it got real serious real fast. And so they decided, let's do this. Let's have every bit of clergy we can think of. Every bit of clergy. I mean, priests and bishops, chaplains, pastors, you name it. We're going to have them come down, bring all your religious symbols, whatever it takes. We're going to come to the middle of this community. Right in the dead center of it, there was a park, and they were going to go right into this community, and we're all going to pray and pray for rain and pray that God restores this land. So they all got together. They're come walking in, Bibles, crosses, rosaries. They had everything walking into this area, tapestries, like it was done up, right? They all go in there, and they begin to pray. And they started as soon as the sun came up, they began to pray. And they prayed all the way until the sun was almost down, and nothing. Not a thing. Prayed without ceasing. They weren't eating. They weren't doing anything. They just prayed nothing. And so they got done, and they kind of were taking a little break, and they were basically talking about maybe starting back over the next day. And they, as they're in the discussion, this little boy comes walking up to them and says, "Do you mind if I pray?" And they said, "No, go ahead." You know, in their minds thinking, well, we don't want to stop him from praying. We want him to be encouraged, but also, you know, we're the spiritual authority here. And so the little boy says, "Thank you." And he walks up to the center, and he begins to pray, and they begin to continue to talk. Within 2 minutes of the prayer, all of a sudden the clouds begin to darken. Heavy, dark clouds. Lightning is shooting through these clouds. And then all of a sudden you hear this thunder just roar, and just the whole community is shaken from the thunder that was happening. And then all of a sudden it just begins to pour. I mean, just rain just flooding all over the place. Just rain is coming down and just beating this community, just rain pouring down. And so the little boy gets up, starts walking out. And they stop him and they say, "What did you say? Like, we've been here praying all day. What did you say?" And he said, I said, "Dear Heavenly Father, would you please make it rain?" And they were like, "Okay, that's what we said too. Well, what religious symbol did you bring?" And he said, "I did, and I brought an umbrella, though." Yeah. See, I think a lot of times in our lives, we have this mentality of faith. We don't have that umbrella type of faith. You know, we want to pray about it, and we feel like we could get into this religious cycle, and we could begin to kind of move in this kind of a way of basically just repeating itself, and it becomes more rhythm than relationship, and then we don't trust really what we're praying about. We don't really want to see it happen. We pray about it, or we kind of do, but then do we have that umbrella type faith? And I begin to look at this today as the story that we're going to be digging into, and I believe this for you. Because I truly believe that for some of you, this will be a great message of hope. If you're here today and you're saying, I've been praying for something for a long time and I'm not seeing results, and this is beginning to affect you a little bit. You're saying, I'm pouring out, I am praying, I'm going through the rhythms, I'm going through the cycle, I'm believing for this miracle to happen in my life. And it could be a variety of stuff. We're talking from, I'm believing for my children to come back to Christ, or loved ones to receive Christ, or to come to faith in Christ, for a breakthrough to happen, to overcome depression, to push out anxiety. I am praying. I'm praying for my parents. I'm praying for their health. I'm praying for my marriage. I'm praying for divorces. There's just moments. Maybe you're praying for this physical healing in your life, that you're saying, "God, just heal me of this or that. Heal me of cancer. Heal my loved one of this type of sickness." And you're all in. And you've been praying. And you've been believing God for a long time for something significant. And you still haven't seen results. And I believe that God is going to minister to you in a very special way today. I truly believe that if you've brought your umbrella. Let's go. That'd be cool. We should have opened an umbrella and it said, let's go. I got you. We're going to be going to Daniel chapter 10. Before we get into it, I'll give you the quick synopsis. If you remember last week when we talked about Daniel, he was probably in his 80s, most likely in his 80s. And this is when we talked about Daniel in the lion's den. And now we're talking even decades later. There's this. He's a very old man now, and I know we talked the very first week in this series. We talked about King Nebuchadnezzar. He destroyed the temple, and then he took the boys Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he takes them, and then there was that moment in the furnace, and so we see that their temple was destroyed. Well, Daniel is now holding on to this hope that this is going to be restored. Not only is the temple going to be restored, but those people that he loves so dearly, his people, were going to be free. And he started seeing signs of this. He actually started seeing it happening. Things were coming together, and it started to look really good. But all of a sudden, all of a sudden, he received a vision from God that was very disturbing to him. And so all he did was he sought God in prayer. And he had this vision of more war, more hardships. And he's like, I've been praying for decades, and now I see more hard times coming. I can't even take this. And so Daniel did what he always did. He sought God in prayer. It says for 21 days he fasted and prayed. Does everybody know what fasting is? No. Cool. Nobody here. We all know better than that. Let me try it again. Does anybody here know what fasting is? It's not a trick question. Okay. What happened? It's when you stop eating to pray. It's when you put your time into prayer, and this is your focus, and you don't eat. And so this is what he did for 21 days, it says. And then it says that he wore no fragrant lotions. It means he didn't bathe either for 21 days. Now here at this church, we believe in fasting. You can fast. But we also want you to bathe. That is part of it. It's in Hesitations 2, verse 3. There's no hesitations in the Bible. If you're new here, you don't look for that. It says, thou shalt not stinketh, take a batheth. Yeah, in Jesus' name. So 21 days, he's now fasting in this moment. And now, as we read in Daniel 10, I'll just tell you, we're not totally sure who this angelic being is. Now, I believe, along with a lot of other biblical scholars that I trust and they know what they're talking about, believe that this is probably the pre-incarnate Christ. Now, you say, what does that mean? Well, if you remember, God was there before the foundation of the world. So God is the Trinity. We have Father, Son, Holy Spirit, a mystery that we can't fully explain. And Jesus appears in the New Testament. He appears in bodily form, but he also existed prior to that we read in the Old Testament. So in the Old Testament, there was moments where he appeared, and this is called a Christophany. If you want to look good in front of your home group, say that's a good big theological word, Christophany. You can use that one all day long. It's yours. So that's what this is. We're seeing Christophany in this moment. So we don't know for sure, but I'm going to preach it that way because I believe if I preach it about Christ, if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of Christ. Okay? So that's how I'm going to preach it. It's kind of like the whole Sunday school class where the kids in Sunday school and the teacher's like, well, what's fluffy and brown, has a big fluffy tail, runs up and down trees, and it's got puffy cheeks and these buck teeth, and the kid's like, Jesus! And she's like, no, a squirrel. And he's like, yeah, I know. It sounded like a squirrel, but I knew we're in Sunday school, so I'm just going to say Jesus. So that's where we're at right now. We're just going to say Jesus, okay? Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 through 8. Let's go there first. Let's look at it together. Here's what Daniel said. He said, verse 5, I looked up and I saw a man dressed in linen clothing with a belt of pure gold around his waist. His body looked like a precious gem. His face flashed like lightning and his eyes flamed like torches. That sounds a lot like John's vision in Revelation chapter 19 of Jesus. Sounds a lot like it. Verse 6, his arms and his feet shone like polished bronze, and his voice roared like a vast multitude of people. When he spoke, we're talking like thousands. It sounded like a roar as he spoke. As powerful his voice was. 7, only I, Daniel, saw this vision. The men with me saw nothing, but they were suddenly terrified and ran away to hide. So I was left there all alone to see this amazing vision. I think that is incredible to me. This is beautiful. But I always ask, why didn't the rest of them get the vision? Why was it just Daniel? And I truly believe that as we are sitting here right now, there's moments in our life where God has something special just for you. That God has something He wants to tell just you. Wants to show just you. Not everybody else. And I know this for a fact because I've seen it happen in my life. And you probably have had it happen where you're sitting here, and it may even happen today in worship, where you're sitting here and you're worshiping and just boom, you're like, whoa. Did you get that? Did you feel that? Like there's this different type of presence of God that's happening. Or you read a verse, you've read it 10 times and nothing, but on the 11th time you're like, whoa, I got it. God showed me this. I had a song one time as a worship song. The worship song is His Name is Jesus. And they repeat His name. It's just such a beautiful song. And I'm listening to this song and it broke me. And I'm just on my knees and I'm bawling and crying and I'm just like, this song has just shattered me. And I begin to sing the song out all excited. You guys, listen to this song, and nothing back. Nothing. And I'm like, God, there's a bunch of people going to hell because they're not replying to my message about this. So I begin to really start reaching out, like, what is going on? Did you guys get my message? They're like, yeah. Did you listen to the song? They're like, yeah, it's okay, yeah. It's okay. I'm like, man. So I began to pray for forgiveness for all my friends because they just weren't getting it. But I had to realize that God showed me just something really powerful that He just wanted me to have. He's doing that for you too. And He's going to have something just for you. For some of you, it could have already happened. For some of you, it may still happen. This is what happened with Daniel. The people around him didn't experience it. But I believe with all my heart that there are some of you today, you're going to have this movement, and it's going to be amazing in your life. And you are going to hear from God. It's going to be like the heavens open, and God is just speaking directly to you. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, did you hear that? Did you hear that? What that pastor said, the one that looks like Brad Pitt? Did you hear it? You guys are like, when does the other pastor get here? But you're going to be like so into it, like, oh my goodness, did you hear it? I cannot believe it. That's what I'm talking about. And they're going to be like, well, yeah, the squirrel joke was okay. But they're going to be like, you're going to be like, no, you don't get it. Like you're going to truly feel this moment. And that's how this special moment happened with Daniel between him and God. It's this moment in verse 8, the middle of the verse, he says he's in the presence of Christ, or this angelic being, and he says, my strength left me. My face grew deathly pale, and I felt very weak. Watch what happens. Verse 9. Then I heard the man speak, and when I heard the sound of his voice, I fainted and lay there with my face to the ground. Whew, that's powerful. I heard the sound of his voice, and I could no longer stand, and I fell face down. Wow, what is that all about? Please, 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 please hear this. The strongest of men cannot bear the weight of the glory of God. The strongest of men cannot bear the weight of the glory of God. This is incredible for us. And I'll never forget it. I've had this moment of where you feel like there's this crazy moment as you're going through it where you're kind of simultaneously grieving this depravity of sin in your life, and then on this side just truly receiving and just loving this beauty of His grace all in the same moment. We're in a moment with God where you're just overwhelmed by this comfort and by His presence and by His assurance and by His protection. I'll never forget it. I know I've shared this and I'm going to share it again because it happened to me. And if you think, my pastor's crazy, then you're right. But I was sitting there and I was in prayer, and you guys know the story, I've shared it, but I prayed that I see Jesus' eyes when I pray. I just wanted to see a glimpse. And 7 years I prayed for this. And one day I got this glimpse. And I'm telling you, I couldn't move. I was on the floor. And it was a glimpse. And I couldn't even move. And I could not speak. And I was bawling. And poor Dee Dee came up. She thought I was having a stroke. She's like, what is wrong? And I'm like, Papa, I could not talk. I couldn't explain to her what happened because, trust me, the glory of God is so heavy. It's powerful. There's a presence of God that, trust me, will drive out every single thing. If you truly have never felt it, you pray for it, because when you do, He will reveal Himself to you. But have we as a people stopped asking? Man, I'm getting hot now. I didn't even have strength to stand up. When I read this, I resonate with this. Down on my face. And when I went down on my face, I was one person. But when I stood up, I was another. His presence transforms you. It is powerful. I was completely transformed by His presence. I'm wanting that moment for you today. I'm wanting that to happen. Just for you. Just for you. All right, well, now we're going to get into the application side of the sermon. Everybody knows that I do an application side, where I just don't want you to read God's Word and then do nothing with it. I really want you to apply it in your life. How do you stand firm in your faith? When you're praying, that you're praying and you just don't see anything happening. I want you to do 3 things. Are you ready? Buckle your seatbelts. You ready? It's going to get good. Here's your first one if you're taking notes. You'll always need to remember that God cares about you more than you do. God cares about you more than you do. And I'm selfish. I care about me a lot. And God cares about me more than that. God cares about me deeply. Our good God cares about you so much more than you do. It says in verse 10, Daniel says, just then a hand touched me. And did what? Let's all say it out loud. The hand touched me. And what? And it lifted me. It lifted me. What did it do? Say it out loud. It lifted me. There's this old hymnal, if I could sing. Can I just tell you, I can't stand pastors that can sing, because I can. It bugs me that they can. Okay? I'll be okay with just preaching, but man, it just bugs me when I hear them singing. I'm like, okay, great, thanks, yeah. So I'm going to read you the words of this song. Just then a hand touched me and lifted me. Here's the words. From sinking sands He lifted me. With a tender hand He lifted me. From shades of night to plains of light, oh, praise His name, He lifted me. We've gotten so backwards on our thinking that we think when God extends his hands is to condemn. It is never to condemn, it is to lift. It is to lift. You have this moment now in your lives where you can receive say, this is where I think there's moments where we are convicted and we confuse this conviction with condemnation, and God is reaching his hand to lift you. Verse 10, just then the hand touched me and lifted me. Some of you are going to sense that hand of Christ lifting you today. You're going to feel this. Still trembling to my hands and knees. Verse 11, and the man said to me, Daniel, you are very precious to God. Ugh. You are very precious to God. For some of you, that's that moment right here you needed to hear. That's why you're here today. That you need to know that you are so precious to God. You are valuable to God. That's what precious means. You are valuable to God. Precious. Precious. It's such a powerful meaning, doesn't it? My wife, precious. She's precious to me. I love her, but she's precious to me. There's some golf partners I go with. I love them, but they're not precious to me. And if I told them they're precious, we probably wouldn't be golfing anymore. They'd be like, what's wrong with you? Our God looks at you with the same kind of love that a loving father has for his children. Man, I needed this preaching today. I don't know about you guys. I needed it. He cares about you more than you even care about yourself. Daniel goes on, and the voice says, verse 11, you are precious to God, so listen carefully to what I have to say to you. Stand up. Everybody say that. Stand up. We're going to stand up. For I have been sent to you, Christ says. When he said this to me, I stood up trembling. 3 things to remember when you're standing firm in faith. The first thing is God cares about you more than you ever will. He cares about you more than you do. The second thing, I love this with all my heart. God is doing more than you understand. He's doing way more than you understand. I love this. This is going to get really cool. Are you guys ready for this? Bible is so not boring. You guys are boring. They're not boring. The Bible is amazing. Verse 12, it says, then Christ said, the angelic being said to me, Daniel said, don't be afraid, Daniel. He says, don't be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day you began to pray, since the first moment you prayed for understanding and to humble yourself before God, your request has been heard in heaven. Since the first time you prayed, God heard your prayer. He says, I have come to answer your prayer. Now, verse 13, I've got to warn you. You think it was weird. It's going to get a lot weirder. This is like some Star Wars weird stuff going on. I hope you're ready. Supernatural is about to happen. Verse 13, Christ, or the angelic being, says, but for 21 days the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to kick some booty on my behalf. Now, that I changed a little bit. That's that SIV version, the Scott International version. I edited that. He came to me. He came to help me. I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now, first, let's talk about this because it's really interesting me. Let's first talk about that he had been praying for a very long time about something. Now, for those of you who've been praying for a really long time, there's moments that you say, is it even worth it? It's been a long time. Why even bother? God doesn't care. I'm saying what I've said before. I mean, if God were going to do something, he would have done it a long time ago. You're praying and you're wasting your breath. God's not listening. And he's not going to do it. So it just must not be his will. Anybody else say any of that stuff? Oh, cool. Just me. Okay. Here you go. You guys polish your halos. So, goodness. He says, I want you to understand the first time you prayed, God heard your cry. My goodness. The first time you prayed for healing for that person, God heard your prayer. The first time you prayed for your child and you begged God to do a miracle, God heard your prayer. The first time you prayed to your good God, you poured out this prayer to Him. He heard it. I don't care if it was 25 years ago, He heard it. The first time you called on Him, He heard your prayer. The first time you cried out in faith, oh my goodness, He heard you. I believe heaven opened and God heard your prayer. Verse 13. This is so cool. I just want to talk about it. But for 21 days, the Spirit Princess... Wait. How many days? Okay, wait. How many days did Daniel fast? That's just a coincidence, I'm sure. It's interesting to me, right? For 21 days, the Spirit Prince of the Kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Now, who is the Spirit Prince of Kingdom of Persia? Again, doesn't totally go into it. Scholars believe that this is a demonic force. We know that what we're seeing right in front of you, flesh and blood, that's not it. There is definitely a demonic force that you're battling against. It's against principalities in this dark world you are battling. Never ever think this is it, because this is not it. There is so much more going on. This is just the physical realm. For 21 days after you prayed, Christ was sent and was doing battle in the heavenly realms with evil force. And then Michael, one of the archangels, come to back up. Wow. Came to help me out. So this angelic being says, I left him there. You deal with the Prince of Persia. You deal with this stuff. I'm going to Daniel to answer his prayer. That's powerful to me. It moves me so deeply in my heart. Daniel prayed and he continued to pray and he prayed and he prayed. We all know that he had a rhythm. He scheduled his prayer. He knew that this was valuable time. So he prayed and he prayed. And what did he see? Nothing. So he kept praying and praying. Because he knew that it didn't mean God wasn't doing anything. God was still doing something. I don't know how you're sitting there so quiet today. I'm telling you. I'm speaking to someone today because you have been praying such a long time for something and you've been crying out to God and you haven't been seeing anything. But just because you're not seeing anything doesn't mean God is not doing something. He is doing something. The first time you cried out, He heard your prayer. The first time he cried out, Daniel cried out, he released his angelic beings to do warfare on your behalf. Do you understand the power in this? Well, tell your faces. You may not see anything, but you have no idea what kind of battle is going on in the heavenly realms. You don't know. From a God who loves you so much that He is working behind the scenes to do things that you can't even see. And you wouldn't even understand if you did. And even then, He cares about you so much. 21 days earlier, when Daniel still saw nothing, there was a battle raging in heaven. Because heaven heard his prayer. The very first time he prayed it. Just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that God isn't doing something. Well, how do you keep standing in faith? You first remember that He cares about you more than you do. He loves you more than you do. Because He's doing way more than you'll ever understand. And number 3, you're taking notes. God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. In fact, that's New Testament. That's Paul. In your weakness, his strength is made perfect. That's straight from his words. There was a moment, believe it or not, I know this is going to surprise you, but I used to work out. And I'll never forget because I go with Charlie, and if you guys know my son Charlie, he's all cut up and all, And I went with him, and so we'd always do this thing where we'd get on the bench press at the very end, and it was called burnout. So we would go with a lower weight, and we just go until we just couldn't go anymore. So we're just going and going and going and going and going, and he's over me, and he's like, just more, 20 more, Dad. And I'm like, and have you ever gone to where you start smelling blood or something? You're like, what is that? Like, you taste tinfoil? Am I the only one that tastes? And so you're just like, you're going crazy and you're just doing what you need to do. And he's like, just 15 more, Dad. And he's like, 10 more. And he got to about 5, and I just gave up and couldn't do it anymore. And I just like hung up by the fingertips. And he's like, he's like, that's right, 5. And he's like, 4. And he's like, 3, 2, 1. He's like, Dad, you did it. Let's go. And I'm like, I had you so fooled. I wasn't even holding on for the last 5. You did them all on yourself. But when I got to the end of my strength, guess what? He took over. When I had nothing left, he stepped in. And some of you have to get to this point in your life that you've got nothing left, and that's where you're going to see God step in. Because you have to get to a point that you're like, I want to see God's power, but I have to get my positioning into a place of weakness so that I can experience his strength. And until you embrace weakness, you will never truly, fully understand his strength. My goodness. Verse 17. This is what Daniel says to Christ or the angelic being. He says, how can someone like me, your servant, talk to you, my Lord? My strength is gone. My strength is gone. I can hardly breathe. Some of you right now, that captures exactly where you're at right now. My strength is gone. And I've been hanging on to this marriage. And I've been hanging on to these kids. And I've been hanging on to this job. And I've been fighting for this and financially. And I'm just hanging on. My strength is gone. I can hardly breathe. In verse 18, then the one who looked like a man did what? Everybody say it out loud. He did what? He touched me again. He touched me again. And what happened? I felt my strength returning. Whew. Don't miss the power of this. When he touched me, I felt my strength returning. Some of you, that's all you need right now. You're like, boom, that's it. There it is. I just need that touch, one touch from God, and my faith will be restored. One touch, and I will go back. This encouragement's going to happen. Just one touch, and I'm back all in. One touch, and I'm coming back to Christ. One touch, and I'm believing God for that thing that I gave up on years ago, but I stopped praying for. One touch, and I'll continue, and I'll pick that back up. One touch. It's enough to keep on going. One touch, and your strength is returning. One touch from the presence of Christ, and everything changes. I have no strength. One touch. And I felt my strength returning. Christ says to him, verse 19, don't be afraid. He said, you may hear it, but you're going to hear it again. I'm going to tell you again that you are very precious to God. You are very precious to God. Peace, be encouraged, be strong. You can keep standing in faith because the first time you prayed, God heard your prayer. And he released angelic forces to do work in the heavenly realms. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes you may answer and work just exactly how you prayed, and sometimes not even close. But just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that he's not doing something. And in that moment, people are going to look at you and they're going to wonder, how are you still standing? How are you hanging in there? How come you haven't given up? And you're going to say, because you don't understand. I realize that God cares about me more than even I do. And he's doing way more than I understand. And his strength is made perfect in my weakness. I've embraced my weakness. Therefore, I've tapped into his strength. What you need to understand is I continue to believe with everything that's in me. Because the first time I prayed, he heard my prayer. And I trust in God, who is good. And he's working in all things to bring the good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. My goodness. That's how I continue to stand. Because when we don't see anything, it doesn't mean that God isn't